Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, sharpshooters. My name is Deadshot. Today we are back again with another video. We're changing things up this time. We're going to be talking about the new weapon that just dropped with the recent TennoCon stream, the Haalvu. It is the sentient minigun with the innate sentient damage, the first weapon of its type to deal innate sentient damage, and the first weapon in the game to deal innate sentient damage. Very cool indeed. So we're going to jump straight into it. We're going to showcase this weapon because it does some pretty interesting things. It has an alt fire, which turns it from a minigun into basically an auto-targeting quad-barreled or penta-barreled force of destruction, if you will. Because you got your basic rifle, and then you've got the 4 other groups of barrels doing things. Very interesting. It works very strangely with Zada's Whisper, as each of the barrels that are produced when you use the alt fire can also proc Zada's Whisper. So it makes for some very interesting gameplay indeed when combined with that one ability. And I'm out of energy again. What a surprise. So we're just going to use some nice high level targets here. We're going to be doing Circulus, the highest level mission in the star chart. The build that I chose for this weapon, despite its effectiveness as a crit weapon, I decided to go down the road of status, given that Tau damage does exactly that. When you stack up the sentient or the Tau damage on enemies, it increases the status chance against that enemy. So I decided that it would be a good idea to then combine that with Blast and Zada's Whisper to proc those much more frequently. And the results was interesting to say the least. It doesn't have the highest DPS in the game. Obviously, as seen, it does take a few bullets to kill some enemies. It's got some very low base damage starting at 33. So very low. But it can still be turned into something that can take on Steel Path enemies fairly effectively. And it is a lot of fun when combined with Citrine and all the status chance that she can provide. From the Citrine video as well, I also swapped out some of the arcanes. Swapped out the arcane that gives you extra damage on headshots for primaries, and arcane impetus so that we can get a little bit more ability strength, so that we can get a little bit more status chance out of our third. I was originally going to pick duration for longer status duration, but the extra status chance seemed like a good idea at the time, and it's performing fairly well. Yeah, very interesting gun indeed. Highly recommend it if you guys have not checked it out yet. Do check it out. Do build it up yourselves. I went with a bit more of a multi-shot build for this one. The next one I'm going to be trying out is going to be a primary acuity build. Right, or rifle acuity. I can't remember what the name on that one is. I think it's primary acuity. And we'll see how that one does, and I think that's going to be more of a minigun focused build. This build with the status chance is more focused on using the alt fire as your primary source of fire, to try and hit more targets and to increase your status chance a little bit further, because when you use the alt fire, it does increase the status chance over its base, but you do get a slightly lower base damage. Someone stole my gun. That's not cool. In its minigun form, it has incredibly high fire rate. It has that 34 base damage, I believe is what it is with the base of the normal version. But this build definitely caters towards its alt fire a little bit more, and its alt fire is a little bit better for solo play, as it turns your single target weapon into a bit more of a multi-target weapon, if you will. And using Citrine's fourth, we can kind of take advantage of some of the critical damage that it offers as well. although it does bolster a slightly lower critical damage multiplier than most weapons would, with a 1.8 critical damage multiplier. So not the greatest in the world, but it can still definitely be increased with a couple of mods, and it can definitely be made to do a lot more damage than it currently does. My current multiplier, I think, sits at about 3.4. And we'll go over exactly why that is once I get out of this mission. But part of it is because of my companion giving me that little bit of extra final critical damage multiplier with Tenacious Bond. Yeah, I would consider it to be a fairly effective weapon. It does some fairly decent things. You take out acolytes pretty quickly, especially with Citrin's War. And also because each of those barrels can kind of independently proc their own status effects on enemies, it makes it very nice when combined with blast, because you kind of spread out the blast detonations amongst a whole bunch of enemies. Alright, and I'm not gonna bother fighting those guys, I don't care today. Oh, wow, that's a hole. Gravity is my nemesis after all. There's a hole in the ground, I will find it. All right, so jumping into the mods for the Haalvu. We're going with a very straightforward kind of setup. We've got our base damage with Amalgam Serration and Primary Merciless. I was trying to find a better, more unique arcane to use, but none of them were really fitting the bill with the way this build works. So we're just going with some basic, straightforward Primary Merciless, giving us a little bit of reload speed as well, which is very beneficial to the Haalvu. Pardon me. We'll also use a Wildfire and Rhyme rounds to give us a little bit of extra status chance, mag size, and to make that combined blast status effect to give us more AoE and more damage. Primed Fast Hands. This mod is kind of a free slot here, which is why it has that Omni Forma on it. You can kind of run whatever you want here. I decided to test it out with reload speed, which seems to be very effective, as reload speed does affect how quickly you can transform between the two different variants of the gun, as well as its charge rate, charge time, and its full reload animation. So it can be very useful, as this thing can be kind of painful with how long it takes at times. Prime Shred for some fire rate and some punch through, which is very useful on this gun, especially with its increased mag size. We are using Bane mods on this build as well, as Bane mods do triple dip the blast procs when used with Zada's Whisper, so we will be taking advantage of that to take our damage a little bit further. Galvanized Aptitude, otherwise known as Condition Overload for primaries. This will give us more status chance and up to 80% more damage per target affected by at least 2 status effects. And finally, Galvanized Chamber, just for a little bit of extra multi-shot so that we can deal a little bit more damage and add that kind of multiplicative multi-shot damage to it. And because I didn't know what else to run for the Exilis mod slot, we are using Agile Aim, just so you can maintain your movement speed when you're aiming. Not the most important thing in the world, but there's very few Exilis mod slots that worked well with this build. And just take a quick look at Citrine and how this one's been modded up. Very similar to how my last one was. I did not want to do that. Alright, we're using Arcane Impetus and Arcane Rage for headshot damage. Sorry, for the extra damage on headshot and the extra ability damage and efficiency from Impetus. Like I said before, with our Archon shards, I got rid of the 2 Topaz Tau-Forged shards that used to give secondary critical chance on heat procs, and changed them out for these 2 Tau-Forged Crimson Archon shards that will give me up to 75% more primary status chance. And that is my thoughts on the Haalvu. I've been having a lot of fun with it. It's a very enjoyable gun to use. And I love that it is the first weapon in the game to give us Tau damage as its entire base damage type. Let me know your guys' thoughts on the weapon in the comments below. Leave a like on the video if you want to see more videos like this one. And subscribe to the channel for future content. Hit the notification bell, of course, if you want to know when my videos go live, as my schedule is a bit sporadic. And I will see you guys in the next video. Deadshot, over and out.